now that I spend a lot of time in Chicago, is the Bears. Everybody's like, a tight end, where are the rush ends? Okay. So what you know with Ben Johnson, and I think it's pretty clear, is that he has a lot of power in the organization. And he is able to draft and develop players very quickly in his offensive system. We've seen this now last year, and you're going to see it again. So when I look at the Bears, Ben Johnson's vision is how they're drafting. And they also drafted high-character guys that did not get banged up in college. That also matters to the Bears. So the one that got criticized was Sam Roush, the tight end. And I look at it and I think, no, that's what McVay would do. Sam Roush is arguably the best blocking tight end in the draft. Smart kid, Stanford. He is going to make the Bears able to play more 13 personnel. They're already top 5 in the league. McVay, that's McVay. That McVay runs that 13 personnel more than anybody in the league. And the Bears have Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet. Now they add an elite day one, elite blocker at tight end to run more 13 personnel. So people bang on this move. That's what a McVay would do. That's what a Kyle Shanahan would do. So or a D'Amico Ryans can find a defensive end that nobody else loves. It works into his ecosystem. So I didn't have a problem with that. So when I look at the Bears, I look at scheme fits. Would I have preferred they drafted a defensive end or a rush end? Absolutely. But Howie Roseman says this all the time. He's the GM of Philadelphia, and he's considered the best GM in the league. He always says, if I went into the draft and filled every hole, we probably didn't have a good draft. Why? Because you didn't stick to the process. You didn't stick to the board. Like there are teams, the Niners, I'll get to that later, that I think reach. They're trying to fit stuff into Kyle Shanahan's scheme, and they reach. Like Howie Roseman's, stay to your board. Never forget, the draft is just one element of personnel. There are trades. There are acquisitions. There are undrafted free agents. I saw 5 or 6 undrafted free agents that are going to absolutely make the roster and be productive within a year or two.
Yeah, I have to say, Colin left me a bit puzzled there. On one hand, he said, no, what Ben Johnson did was actually clever because it aligns perfectly with his own system. But then right after that, he mentioned that the 49ers are making moves, yet they're essentially trying to force their scheme around Shannon. So that part, I need to go back and listen to that segment again because it honestly threw me off a little. But moving on, I absolutely loved what the Chicago Bears did. And it's kind of amusing because now everybody is throwing around terms like 12 personnel and 13 personnel. I'm pretty convinced that most people don't actually have a clue what those mean. And now you're hearing those phrases more than ever. Honestly, we've gone a long stretch in the NFL where you wouldn't casually hear things like 12 personnel or 13 personnel, and now suddenly those terms are just being tossed out there, very casually, very quickly. And hey, maybe as NFL fans, everyone is getting a bit sharper, a bit more experienced. Maybe the Madden video games are having a bigger influence than we think. But I honestly can't recall the last time I heard Colin, or really any casual sports show like Get Up, First Things First, First Take, whatever, just casually say, oh, Sean McVay is trying to run 13 personnel and this and that. So I don't know. I just find that funny right now. Anyway, I saw a meme the other day, and this is what it makes me think of, specifically about Coach Dan AC and Ben Johnson, and what he's trying to build right now. This was after they drafted that tight end. So yeah, here's the thing, the great thing about Ben Johnson is that he knows exactly what he's doing. He is such a master of offensive football that he feels completely comfortable making all kinds of changes, tweaking things, taking risks. I mean, the guy is like a chef in the kitchen. We always use that expression, let so-and-so cook. That's easily one of the most overused, overrated cliches or phrases in the world, not just in the NFL or sports. But when you truly have that level of control, that depth of knowledge and mastery, then saying let so-and-so cook is actually the perfect example. Because he's completely at ease making all these adjustments. He's comfortable knowing that if he creates something and maybe it doesn't taste perfect right away, he thinks, oh, you know what? If I add a little butter here, a little extra sugar to balance the saltiness, we've got something. It's not like it's all or nothing. It's not like, oh, we took a shot and now we've ruined everything, it's a total disaster. No, when you actually know what you're doing in the kitchen, even if you burn the chicken, you can still figure out a way to make it work. You say, alright, I'll turn this into a stew now. You know what? I'll use this as bark, shave it down, do this and that. You're just in the zone. You know how to troubleshoot, how to maximize, how to extract the most flavor. AB, I'm just hungry right now, but that's exactly what you have with Ben Johnson. So criticizing his offensive vision at this point is kind of ridiculous. It really is. It's pretty laughable, honestly, and it doesn't make much sense to me at all. The Bears want to put Caleb Williams in the best possible position to become the best possible quarterback, and that's going to happen by executing Ben Johnson's vision. That's just how it works. That's how it works. And on defense, they've made moves too, genuine, concrete moves. This is what I don't get. And I'm going to make a Kansas City Chiefs video because I said earlier that I thought the Chiefs should have focused more on offense in the draft. Then people say, what are you talking about? The defense is so poor. Defense, defense, defense. It's like, I'm not saying ignore defense entirely. I never said don't draft a single defensive player. I didn't say cut the whole team and fire Spags. This is where people need to understand that there's nuance to the conversation. Right now, you have Ben Johnson, arguably, and I'll just keep the language general here, one of the smartest offensive coaches out there. Okay. The Bears took care of defense, especially in the first round and even before that. They've made moves in free agency to the best of their ability. Alright. And now they want to make sure they can build the exact offense they're aiming for. Ben Johnson, whether you realize it or not, is the Chicago Bears superpower. It's no. Caleb Williams. It's Ben Johnson. He's the conductor. He's the one pulling all the strings on offense. If you can follow Ben Johnson's vision, you essentially have an offense that can put up 35+ points per game. And even if the defense is a little too slow to keep up, at least this season, then you go all in next year. That's totally fine. On defense, or in free agency again, whatever the case may be. But right now, when you are as great an offensive coach as Ben Johnson is, as smart as he is, you stay ahead of everybody. So you want to be able to do exactly what you want to do right now, without showing glimpses, without giving anyone a preview. That's why Mahomes and Andy Reid were able to absolutely explode, because nobody knew what to expect. Once people know what to expect, things change. It's not exactly the same, but you have to let Ben Johnson do what Ben Johnson does, and by extension, Caleb Williams does his part. It's two sides of the same coin. And that was basically my whole argument with the Kansas City Chiefs. Your superpower is Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Lean into that. Maximize it. Yeah, you need a great defense. Yeah, you need an edge rusher. Yeah, you need this, that, and the other. Those are all important too, but lean into your ultimate superpower. Right now, the Bears, especially with a new, improved, grown, and mature Caleb Williams, if you have the right pieces, the right offense to execute Ben Johnson's vision, you have a chance to build an offense that, at least in the short term, this immediate season, leaves people saying, we honestly have no idea how to slow this down. How do we possibly slow this down? So I love what the Bears did. I really do. I love what the Bears did. Love it. No complaints, no issues. This is why you hire Ben Johnson. This is why you have Caleb Williams, to lean into that. To lean into that. And listen, sometimes it takes years to build out a true Super Bowl roster. People don't realize that. It took years for the Kansas City Chiefs. It took years for them to round out and build up that roster. It wasn't just, oh, they drafted Patrick Mahomes, made a change, and then won the Super Bowl the next year. No, it literally took years. It literally took years. So it takes time. It takes time. Look at the most recent Super Bowl winners. The Seahawks took years. The Eagles took years. The Chiefs, as I just said, took years. The Rams took years. They had to trade their quarterback, go out in free agency, get OBJ, Von Miller, but it took years before that. It took them getting to the Super Bowl, losing, failing, hiring Sean McVay, and having a few years under his belt, etc., etc. It takes time. So this is part of the process. But right now, lean into what you have. Lean into what you can absolutely make special, what can catch the whole league off guard? This is why you go out and get a Ben Johnson. This is the luxury of having a quarterback like Caleb Williams. And the pendulum is swinging, sorry, pendulum is swinging off, sorry again, maybe I should have stopped swinging. Offense, defense, back and forth. The pendulum is going to swing back toward offense. I'm telling you right now. Earlier on, it was very offense heavy, and then these last few years it's been defense. And now I'm telling you, it's going to swing back to offense. And that's going to happen because of people like Ben Johnson. These offenses are going to take a minute to figure out how to slow down. And when defenses do figure it out, there will be a double or triple down on defense. And then back and forth we go. Right. The NFL is always changing. Trends are always changing. Passing was through the roof, defenses didn't know what to do. Then they started to slow that down. Then running became more prominent. Pass attempts have dropped to their lowest since like 2006 or so. Then defenses became super important again. People realized, oh my gosh, defense matters again. Defense wins championships. And that won't last forever either. So the NFL is very much about zigging when everyone else is zagging, and zagging when everyone else is zigging. It sounds cliché, sounds corny, but it's all about staying ahead. Understanding how everyone else is playing, and then making your decisions. They talk about it being a copycat league, but the ones who truly succeed know how to go beyond that, beyond what everyone else is doing. So I don't see why the Bears show. I'll face any criticism right now, honestly. It's kind of laughable to me. You know, I was talking about how Dan Quinn is on the clock and all that, and people say, I can't believe so many people are talking about Dan Quinn on the hot seat, that's ridiculous. And it's like, we got to an NFC championship game in 2014 because of Jayden Daniels. That was because of Jayden Daniels. Dan Quinn hasn't proven his worth yet. His defense hasn't done anything over the last couple of years. I don't want to hear about injuries or this or that. I've seen defenses get better overnight, and I've seen offenses like the Chicago Bears literally get better overnight. And Ben Johnson has already shown his absolute worth, his weight in gold. So there's no reason to question that right now. Zero. Just get excited. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the Chicago Bears? Do you think the criticism makes sense right now? How are you feeling? Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some debates. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love being part of it. I want to build something we all genuinely feel connected to. Something we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, it really helps with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.